They say success is the best revenge. But standing here, 30 floors above the city, with glass walls reflecting back the woman I've become, I'm not sure revenge is what I ever wanted. I just wanted to be seen. The skyline outside my office stretches endlessly, gold against a fading sunset. My assistant had just left for the evening, the faint scent of jasmine from her perfume still lingering in the air. I sat alone, silk blouse soft against my skin, tapping my pen against a stack of reports worth more than what my father's entire store made in a year. Then my phone buzzed. A message popped up on the screen. Dad, family dinner tomorrow. Big announcement. Don't be late. My lips curved slightly, half amusement, half something deeper. Big announcement. That phrase used to fill me with hope. Now it only meant one thing. Another reminder that no matter what I built, it would never be mine in his eyes. I closed the laptop slowly, the reflection of my empire fading into black glass. My company. My creation. Every inch of it forged from nights I cried myself to sleep, from dreams no one believed in but me. And now, after all these years, he wanted to announce something. The same man who once said, "Sweetheart, maybe you should find something simpler. Your brother understands business better." I took a deep breath, smoothed the crease in my skirt, and whispered to my empty office. "All right, Dad. Let's hear your big announcement." If I close my eyes, I can still smell the sawdust. That old workshop my father owned, Morgan Custom Woodworks, always smelled like pine and oil and dreams that never got a chance to grow. I was 17 when I first started helping him there. He'd laugh whenever I tried to lift the heavier tools, saying, "Careful, Ava. Leave the tough stuff to the men." But I didn't listen. I stayed late, covered in dust, learning everything from polishing finishes to balancing ledgers. I loved that place more than anything. Back then, my brother Ethan was rarely around. He'd breeze in on weekends, throw on a clean shirt, and take credit for work he didn't touch. Dad adored him for it. He had that easy charm I never did. One summer afternoon, I gathered the courage to show Dad my idea. I'd spent nights drawing designs, rebranding the business name, even creating a small website on my laptop. I remember how nervous I was, hands shaking as I handed him the papers. "Dad," I said, "we could expand online. Custom orders. Broaden our market. I can help with social media, even connect with interior designers." He cut me off mid-sentence. His voice was gentle, but sharp enough to slice through my hope. "Ava, you're smart. You really are. But business like this, it's not a place for women. You'll get tired, or married, or distracted. Let Ethan handle this side, all right?" I felt something collapse inside me. It wasn't just rejection. It was erasure. I nodded, pretending I understood, pretending my chest didn't burn with humiliation. Later that night, I found my mother's bracelet in the top drawer, a simple gold chain she used to wear when times were hard. I slid it onto my wrist and whispered to myself, "Then I'll build something of my own." The next morning, I packed a suitcase, left a note, and walked out of that creaky little house. Dad didn't chase after me. He didn't even call. But I carried that bracelet, and every word he'd said, like armor. That was the day Ava Morgan stopped being a helper in someone else's dream and started writing her own. When you start from nothing, even survival feels like success. I rented a studio apartment above a laundromat. The walls were thin, and the heater never worked, but it was mine. During the day, I worked 3 part-time jobs: receptionist, delivery runner, and night shift assistant at a design firm. But every night, when the world went quiet, I'd sit on my secondhand laptop and start sketching again. Morgan Custom Woodworks became Ava and Company in a folder on my desktop. I built mock websites, drafted marketing plans, watched free business tutorials online. I didn't have capital or support or confidence half the time, just a stubborn fire that refused to go out. There were nights I cried from exhaustion, eating cold noodles on the floor. But every tear was a promise. One day, they'd see me. My first break came when an older woman named Margaret Sloan, an interior designer with an eye for potential, stumbled upon my online post. She called me personally. Your designs feel alive, Ava. You have something real here, she said. Margaret became my mentor, not because she had to, but because she believed in women who refused to give up. With her guidance, I found my first client, then another. Soon, I was managing orders from 3 states away, crafting high-end modern furniture inspired by my father's old designs, but with my touch. Still, I kept it quiet. When Dad called once in a while, asking how I was, I just said, "Good, just working." He'd laugh softly and say, "That's my girl. Stay out of trouble." He never asked where I worked, and I never offered to tell. Years passed. Ava and Company grew from a small online shop into a design brand featured in magazines. Then came investors, showrooms, warehouses. My late nights turned into board meetings. My cheap laptop became a full-scale operations hub. I remember one moment clearly, standing outside my first major facility, a 10,000 square foot production plant. I wore my mother's bracelet and whispered, "You see this, Mom? I used your husband's tools and built something he couldn't imagine." But success, I learned, doesn't fill the silence left by the people you wanted to impress. Every award, every zero added to my company's value. It felt incredible, yes. But a part of me still pictured my father's face, the same proud smile he gave my brother for doing half the work I once begged to do. So I kept building, kept growing, until one morning, Forbes called. They wanted to feature me, Ava Morgan, the CEO of Morgan Industries, the woman who turned a forgotten family trade into a $373 million global brand. That's when I knew I had become everything he said I couldn't be. But destiny has a cruel sense of timing, because just a week later, my phone buzzed with that message from Dad. Family dinner. Big announcement. Don't be late. The restaurant my father chose was the same one we used to visit for birthdays, dark mahogany tables, dim lights, and a fireplace that made everything feel smaller than it was. I arrived early. Old habit. My heels clicked against the polished floor as I entered, the hostess leading me to the private dining room. Through the glass wall, I could see them, him and Ethan, laughing, like nothing had changed. For a second, I stood there, watching. Dad's silver hair caught the light, his posture proud. Ethan leaned back, wearing that effortless grin he'd inherited from him. When I walked in, Dad stood up, smiling wide. "Ava, you look wonderful. It's been too long." I hugged him, polite but distant. "Yeah," I said quietly. "It has." Dinner started light, small talk, old memories, Ethan boasting about a new investment he'd almost made. I nodded through it, sipping my wine, listening. Then Dad cleared his throat, the way he always did before saying something important. He reached for his glass and smiled that familiar, careful smile. "I've been thinking a lot about the future," he began. "Our family legacy. Morgan Custom Woodworks has come a long way since I started it. And now, it's time to pass the torch." He looked right at Ethan. "Son, I want you to take over." For a moment, time stopped. The sound of the fireplace cracked behind us, soft and cruel. Ethan grinned, pretending to act humble. "Dad, that means a lot. I'll make you proud." I set my glass down gently. My reflection rippled in the dark wine. "Dad," I said, my voice calm, controlled, "you still think the business is yours to pass?" He frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" I reached into my purse and pulled out a slim black folder, my quiet weapon. I slid it across the table. Inside, printed in clean, bold letters, was the paperwork of ownership transfer. 3 years ago, Morgan Custom Woodworks was listed as bankrupt, I said evenly. I bought it, restructured it, rebuilt it into what's now Morgan Industries, a $373 million global brand. Ethan blinked. "Wait, you own it?" I nodded. "Every inch. The factories, the patents, the designs. Everything carrying our family name belongs to me." Dad's face went pale. His hand froze midair, like his mind was struggling to catch up. I don't understand," he said softly. "You built that from your small business. I finished for him. The one you said wasn't for women." Silence. Heavy. Electric. Ethan laughed awkwardly. Come on, Ava. You're joking. I turned to him, eyes steady. Do I look like I'm joking? Dad leaned back in his chair, eyes glassy now. He looked smaller somehow, like the weight of his own words finally pressed down on him. I wasn't angry anymore. Not really. I was just done. I didn't do it to prove you wrong, I said quietly. I did it because I believed in what you built, even when you didn't believe in me. The fire cracked again, lighting the gold bracelet on my wrist. The same one from my mother. For a moment he stared at it. His eyes softened. Your mother would be proud, he murmured. I nodded, tears stinging but not falling. So would I. Then I stood up, smoothed my coat, and looked between the two men who once defined my worth. You wanted to make an announcement, I said, voice calm. Now I've made mine. And as I walked toward the door, their silence followed me, thick, stunned, unshakable. For the first time in my life, I was the one leaving the table on my terms. I didn't go home that night. I went back to my office, the top floor of the Morgan Industries tower, and sat by the window overlooking the city lights. It's funny. The girl who once begged for a chance was now the woman everyone wanted to impress. The next morning, I found an email waiting. Subject line, can we talk? Dad. It was short, hesitant. The first time I'd ever seen him unsure. We met a few days later, in my office this time. He walked in quietly, taking in the space. The glass walls, the skyline view, the portraits of women leaders I'd commissioned to hang on the walls. His reflection looked small against the empire I had built from the one he once denied me. He finally spoke. You've done more than I ever imagined, he said softly. I'm proud of you, Ava. Truly. I just wish I'd seen it sooner. I looked at him for a long moment, then gestured toward the seat across from me. I believe you, I said. But pride isn't enough now. We need honesty. He nodded, guilt shadowing his face. I don't want to erase our family's name, I continued. I want to rebuild it together. But it has to be equal. No favorites. No blind spots. No more teaching women to be small. He swallowed hard and nodded again. You have my word. Then came Ethan. He arrived an hour later, loud as ever. But when he stepped into my office, the confidence faded from his face. So this is what you've been doing, he said, almost whispering. This, I replied, smiling faintly, is what I've been building. He looked around, awed but embarrassed. I don't know what to say. I leaned back in my chair. You don't have to say much. Just listen. I told him about the work, the long nights, the failures, the discipline. How I didn't inherit success, I built it. Then I gave him a choice. If you still want to be part of this legacy, you can. But you'll start where I started, on the floor, learning the craft from the workers who actually keep this company alive. His jaw tightened. You want me to work in the factory? Yes, I said simply. If you're going to lead one day, you need to understand the foundation first. You'll earn your title, not inherit it. He looked like he wanted to argue, but something in my voice, or maybe the truth in the air, stopped him. He just nodded slowly. Dad sat silently the whole time. When I finally turned to him, his eyes were full of something I hadn't seen in years. Respect. I stood, walked around the desk, and placed a hand on his shoulder. You taught me to build, I said softly. You just didn't realize what I'd build out of the pieces you left behind. He smiled, small, weary but genuine. Maybe you'll teach me now. I smiled back. Maybe I already am. In that moment, power didn't feel like dominance. It felt like peace. A few months passed after that meeting. The air around the company felt lighter, calmer, as if years of silence had finally exhaled. Dad started coming to the office every week, not to oversee, not to lecture, just to learn. He'd walk through the production floor, talking to the designers, admiring the machines that once terrified him. Sometimes I'd see him tracing the edge of a new product, whispering, "You've come so far, Ava." And Ethan, well, he surprised me. He took the challenge seriously. He started at the bottom, wearing the same gray overalls as everyone else. The first time I saw him sanding a table, sweat on his brow, I felt something inside me shift, not superiority, but forgiveness. One evening, I walked past Dad's old office. The door was half open, the room now used for design planning. He was sitting inside, turning something over in his hands. When I stepped closer, I saw it, my mother's gold bracelet. The one that had stayed with me through every heartbreak, every long night, every victory. He looked up, eyes misty. "You left this on my desk," he said. "I don't need it anymore," I replied gently. "It's already done its job." He nodded, clasping it between his fingers. "She'd be proud of you. I am, too." I smiled, the kind that reaches the heart instead of the lips. "I know," I whispered. And I finally believe it. Outside the window, the sun was setting, gold spilling over the city skyline, the same color as the bracelet, the same glow I used to dream under when I was nobody. That night, I walked through the quiet halls of Morgan Industries. My heels clicked against marble floors that once echoed with doubt, now filled with purpose. I paused before the lobby wall, engraved with the company motto I had chosen when I rebuilt everything. Built from belief. Led by courage. I traced the words with my fingertips, feeling the warmth of everything it took to get here. The rejection, the pain, the lonely years that forged me into something stronger than pride. Then, as the lights dimmed and the city shimmered below, my voice found the truth I had been waiting to say all my life. He built a business. I built an empire. But what I really built was myself.